are a lot of questions being thrown around this presidential campaign between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama. Questions like, how many jobs did Romney really destroy as a corporate raider over a Bain Capital? Or how much should the super rich like him, pay in taxes? He's paying, by the way, a little less than 15%. Or where was President Obama really born? Really? Some questions are important, others completely absurd. But there's one fundamental question that hasn't been asked yet, and that desperately needs to be asked if we're ever going to find our nation's soul again. It was a question that the late billionaire Sir James Goldsmith asked of Charlie Rose back in 1994.
I'm not for the destruction of one's society. Can you explain, what is the purpose of an economy in your view?
That's it. What is the purpose of an economy? Think about it for a second. Why do we have an economy? Here was Goldsmith's answer to his own question.
The economy is there to serve the fundamental needs of society.
Yes.
Which are prosperity.
Yes.
Which are stability.
Yes.
And which are contentment.
Do you agree with that or not?
Okay, let me repeat that. The purpose of an economy is to serve the fundamental needs of a society, which include prosperity, stability, and contentment. Back in the 1930s, during the Great Depression, when prosperity, stability, and contentment were pretty hard to come by, President Franklin Roosevelt believed he could restore the true purpose of an economy by establishing a good quality of life for as many people as possible. As Roosevelt said in 1936, necessitous men are not free men. Liberty requires the opportunity to make a living decent according to the standards of the time, a living which gives man not only enough to live by, but something to live for. Roosevelt knew that if someone was hungry and didn't have food, or if they were sick and didn't have medical care, or if they were broke and didn't have a job, then in a very real sense, they were not free. But when our economy provides these basic essentials for freedom, then Americans would finally find stability and contentment, giving them a chance to also take entrepreneurial risks and eventually find prosperity as well. Remember Goldsmith's definition of an economy: to provide prosperity, stability, and contentment to society. So to do just that, in 1944, Franklin Roosevelt introduced a second Bill of Rights.
In our day, certain economic proofs have become accepted as self-evident. A second Bill of Rights, under which a new basis of security and prosperity can be established for all, regardless of station or race or creed.
FDR then goes on to lay out a new set of rights that all Americans should be granted, including the right to a job, the right to earn enough to provide adequate food, clothing, and recreation to yourself and your family, the right of every business person to trade in freedom from unfair competition and domination by monopolies, the right to a decent home, a right to adequate medical care, a right to adequate protection from old age, sickness, accidents, and unemployment, and a right to a good education. Roosevelt never succeeded in getting his second Bill of Rights passed. He died of a stroke before he could see that happen. But at least his definition of an economy, which is something that serves the needs of society and provides the best quality of life for the greatest number of people, was accepted for the next several decades by both Republicans and Democrats, who supported labor unions, high taxation on the rich, and a regulated economy that protects American jobs and keeps American industry in America. Between 1930 and 1980, America knew the answer to that fundamental question: what is the purpose of an economy? Even Republicans knew it. As Republican President Dwight D. Eisenhower wrote to his brother, "It is quite clear that the federal government cannot avoid or escape responsibilities which the mass of the people firmly believe should be undertaken by it. Should any political party attempt to abolish Social Security, unemployment insurance, and eliminate labor laws and farm programs, you would not hear that party again in our political history. There is a tiny splinter group, of course, that believes you can do these things. Among them are a few Texas oil millionaires. Their number is negligible, and they are stupid." But then, with Ronald Reagan, came a new answer to the question of why an economy, an answer that we're still stuck with today. Rather than an economy serving the needs of society, Reagan and this new breed of supply-side economists and free marketeers believed that society, you and me, exists to serve the needs of the economy. Or more specifically, that society serves the needs of the leaders within the economy, corporations and their CEOs, or as they're called today in Fox so-called news, job creators, which brought us the greed is good mentality of the 1980s, when CEOs were encouraged to cut salaries of their workers, bust up unions, pollute the skies, and gamble on Wall Street, all to maximize wealth, the holy grail. Then came laws to cement this new definition of an economy, including massive tax cuts for the so-called job creators, deregulation of Wall Street's banksters, and the so-called free trade agreements so that national corporations could abandon America and morph into transnational behemoths. That new business model and this entirely new definition of the purpose of an economy is still with us today, and is one in which profit and making money is the ultimate goal, and to hell with the government, stability, and prosperity of society. To advance this, Reagan and his foot soldiers redefined the word freedom. To FDR, freedom meant freedom from want and destitution. Freedom meant a social safety net. But to the Reaganites, freedom meant freedom for banksters and hustlers like Michael Milken and the Koch brothers and Mitt Romney to pursue profits without worrying about whether or not they're destroying people's lives or their communities. It means the freedom to pollute, freedom to outsource, freedom to take dangerous risks on Wall Street, freedom to illegally foreclose on millions of Americans, and the freedom to buy our elections. Basically, the freedom to be pirate equity managers and raid American companies, laying off thousands of workers to maximize profits. Mitt Romney is the walking embodiment of this new definition of freedom, as well as the lead spokesman for the new answer to the question, what is the purpose of an economy? And he's running for president on it. He and his donors, like Sheldon Adelson, Karl Rove, and the Koch brothers, believe we have an economy so that he and his buddies can get filthy rich and stay that way. That's why corporations' share of tax revenues has plummeted since Reagan. Yet working people's share of tax revenue, the amount that we pay in taxes, has increased. That's why the top 1% have seen their income skyrocket 275% since Reagan. Yet the rest of us have seen our incomes barely grow. That's why unionization rates have fallen since Reagan. And along with those rates, the middle class's income has also dropped. 49 million Americans in poverty, 45 million Americans on food stamps, 53 million Americans without health insurance. In those situations, prosperity, stability, and contentment for the vast majority of us are pretty much nowhere to be found. And this is all happening because we have failed to take a step back and look around. We fail to ask ourselves that fundamental question: what is the purpose of an economy? If progressives are going to take back America, just like they did with Republican Teddy Roosevelt in the early 1900s, busting up the big corporations, with FDR in the 1930s, then it's imperative that we redefine both the word freedom and the purpose of an economy. And that begins with asking the questions. What is freedom? What is the purpose of an economy? Everything else, from universal health care to the rights of working people to regulations on oil barons and banksters, follows from those questions. It's time to go back to earlier definitions of freedom, not as the Koch brothers have redefined it, as their right to pollute and corrupt politicians freely, but as FDR defined it, as the right for Americans to be free to chase their dreams because their basic needs like health care and education and a job are secure. It's time to promote prosperity and stability again by saying the economy is here to serve the needs of society and not to serve the needs of Mitt Romney and his buddies. Let's start asking the right questions. That's it for The Big Picture tonight. Don't forget, democracy begins with you. Get out there, get active, tag. You're it. Occupy something. We'll see you tomorrow.